He was just a shepherd boy, until a dream told him to chase treasure buried in Egypt. Would you risk everything for a dream? Santiago did. He left behind his flock, his home, and everything safe, just to follow a vision. But the road wasn't easy. Thieves, deserts, omens, and a question that haunts us all. What if your treasure is real, but the cost is everything?
Curious and determined, he sought the help of a strange old man who appeared in the marketplace. The man introduced himself as Melchizedek, the king of Salem. He spoke not of crowns or thrones, but of something more powerful, one's personal legend, the deep purpose each person is born to fulfill. When you want something, the king said, placing a hand over Santiago's heart, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. He gave Santiago 2 stones, Urim and Thummim, to help him read omens and told him to follow his dream, no matter how far it led. Before Santiago ever dreamed of treasure, he had a simpler dream, one that made his heart race for a different reason. It was a warm morning in the village square. Santiago, dressed in his shepherd's cloak, stood proudly beside his sheep. He had brought them to town for shearing and hoped to speak once more with someone who had never left his thoughts. She was the merchant's daughter. She came out of her father's shop with a clay jug in her hand, walking gracefully. Her hair was black like night, tied back with a red ribbon, and her eyes were bright, curious, and clever. Santiago had seen her only once before, the year before, when he sold wool to her father. But that one moment had lived in his memory like a melody. Santiago, thinking to himself, "She's the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. I hope she remembers me." So, Santiago sold his sheep and crossed the sea to Tangier, a city bursting with color and confusion. But almost as soon as he arrived, he was robbed of all his money. Alone and heartbroken, he sat on a marketplace bench and wept. His dream felt distant now, like smoke carried off by the wind. Still, the world had not abandoned him. He found work in a crystal shop run by a cautious old merchant. The merchant, though kind, had spent years dreaming of a pilgrimage to Mecca, yet never went. He was afraid of change, of disappointment. Santiago helped grow the business, but more importantly, he learned a quiet truth. People are capable, at any time in their lives, of doing what they dream of, he thought, but only if they dare. Earning enough to travel, Santiago joined a caravan bound for Egypt. On the journey, he met an Englishman buried in books, searching for an alchemist who could turn metal into gold. The Englishman spoke of the philosopher's stone, the elixir of life, and of alchemy as the science of transformation. But Santiago realized that true wisdom wasn't just written in books, it was written in the world itself, in signs and in silence. As they crossed the burning desert, they arrived at Al Fayoum Oasis, a place blooming with palm trees and peace. There, Santiago saw Fatima, a desert woman with eyes like the wind at dusk, and at once he knew love, deep, pure, and patient. "I'm a woman of the desert," Fatima told him. "If your treasure is in the pyramids, then go. I will wait for you. True love never holds you back." Love gave Santiago strength, not chains. And soon after, he met a man cloaked in mystery, the Alchemist. With eyes like ancient fire, the Alchemist tested Santiago's courage. "Listen to your heart," he said. "It knows all things, because it came from the soul of the world." As they traveled together, the Alchemist showed Santiago that alchemy was not about gold. It was about transforming the self, about becoming who you truly are. Near the end of the journey, they were captured by desert warriors. To save his life, the alchemist told the soldiers that Santiago could become the wind. Santiago was terrified. He had no idea how to become wind. Left alone on a cliff, he turned to the desert, the wind and the sun, pleading with them in a language deeper than words. "Desert," he said, "teach me your silence, your patience." But the desert could only offer its stillness. "Wind," he begged, "carry me." The wind answered, "I am free, but I do not know how to love." "Sun," Santiago said, "you warm the earth. You must know love." And the sun replied, "Yes, but even I am just a servant of the hand that wrote all." Finally, Santiago turned inward. He spoke to the soul of the world, that divine thread connecting all life. "My heart is part of your heart," he whispered. "Let me become one with you." And in that sacred moment, he did not become wind in body, but in spirit. The desert shifted, the soldiers knelt in awe, and Santiago had performed a miracle, not of power, but of faith. At last, he reached the pyramids, golden beneath the moon. He fell to his knees and wept with joy. But fate had one last lesson. He was robbed again. One thief, mocking him, said he'd once dreamed of a treasure buried beneath a tree in Spain, beside the ruins of a church, under a sycamore. Santiago laughed, even as the thief disappeared into the night. He had traveled across continents, faced loss, love, fear, and wonder, only to return to where it all began. Back in Andalusia, he dug beneath the tree and found it, a chest filled with gold, jewels, and ancient coins. But the real treasure was not in the earth. It was in the dream that guided him. He carefully reburied part of the treasure, knowing that true wealth was not only meant to be kept, but also to be shared. Then, with his heart full and his journey complete, he returned to the desert, not in search of anything, but to fulfill his promise, to reunite with Fatima, who had waited by the well. When he arrived, she was there, drawing water beneath the moonlight. She smiled before he could say a word. "I found my treasure," he said. "And I waited because I knew you would." They embraced, and Santiago finally understood. The true treasure wasn't the gold, but the journey, the love, and the voice of the world he had learned to hear.